Well, it's different because of all the other sensations that you don't get when you're visualizing. I mean, like I just told you that I could go on the beach pretty much if I wanted to, but it's still not near as, I don't know if vivid is the right word, because it is pretty vivid, but it's just not the same as having all the sensations that you would have if you were literally on a beach.
If you would like to support the efforts and research we are doing here on this podcast, make a donation using the Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes, or go to buymeacoffee.com/Shane's Brain. Thank you. Aphantasia is a condition characterized by an inability to visualize mental images in one's mind. If you have just discovered that you or someone you love has aphantasia, or if you're just fascinated by the subject in general and love learning more about it, you are in the right place. The Discovering Your Mind podcast delves into all aspects of the mind's eye, including aphantasia, hyperphantasia, and everything in between. Welcome to the Discovering Your Mind podcast, brought to you by shanesbraindomain.com. I'm your host, Shane Williams, also known as Shane's Brain. Today we're talking with the one and only Pamela Topjian. Welcome to the show, Pamela. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. Where are you joining us from there today, Pamela?
I am in Northern California in the U.S. I don't know if you've got listeners outside of the U.S., but yeah.
We do, yes. All right. What do you do for a living, Pamela?
Well, I am a retired nurse, and also I'm formerly a hypnotherapist, and now I do pet sitting. And I'm an author and a podcaster myself. So those are kind of like my retirement hobbies.
Awesome. Very cool. Tell me a little bit about those.
So the books, one is I Didn't Come This Far to Only Come This Far. And the other one is Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Scrubs. And they're both memoirs, sort of / autobiographies, just about, different things that I faced in my life. And, obviously the nursing one is about quitting my nursing career after 14 years and everything that I saw within the healthcare system and the reasons I quit, because I wasn't retirement age. I quit during the pandemic. So that's all about that. And then the podcast is Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. And as I mentioned, I am formerly a hypnotherapist is what I went to after nursing. And after 5 years, it was really difficult. The whole entrepreneurship of holistic health was really difficult, and it was just causing me too much stress, and I didn't need to take that on. And so I let that go. So now I thought to help highlight other holistic practitioners and to also help inform the public of the different, holistic modalities that are out there, so they can make informed decisions.
In this episode, we will be referring to what we call the Apple graph. If you are unfamiliar with what that is, you can find it on shanesbraindomain.com in the aphantasia and beyond section. All right, well, let's dive into this here. The first thing I would like you to do is visualize a red apple in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now take a look at that chart and let me know which one of those best represents what you saw in your mind's eye.
Yeah, so I am very visual, very vivid. So obviously number 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did it go beyond that? Was it beyond a 6 in any way?
Yeah, it was more like a real apple.
Okay. Was it in 3D? Was it a 3D?
Yeah, I would say like I almost pictured like if I was holding it in my hand.
Okay. And can you rotate it and see it from all angles if you want to?
I could, yeah.
Okay, very cool. When you pictured the apple, was it isolated or did a background come with it?
It was isolated, actually. Yeah. When I first pictured it, when you first said that, I did not picture like my kitchen or my table or anything, just the apple, really.
Okay. When I mentioned a background, did one appear?
Yeah, my kitchen.
All right. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah, I actually bought apples earlier today. So even not too long ago, I was handling apples. So, that might have helped
Okay.
as well.
Okay. So in your mind, the handling of the apples, do you get the sensation of touch as well? Can you feel like you're touching the apple in your mind? Can you feel that, or is it more just visual?
I think it's more just visual, actually. Like if I was to dream of an apple, or if I was in hypnosis or even a guided meditation or something, then I might get more of the physical sensations as well. But just
Okay.
when somebody says, imagine this in your mind, then that's just that thing. Yeah.
Okay. What about tasting the apple? Could you take a bite of it in your mind and kind of taste it?
I could. Yeah. Yeah. My mouth just watered a little when you said that.
Okay. All right. I want to talk a little bit about some of the words we use when it comes to this. I asked you to visualize a red apple.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think anything different would have happened if I had used a different word? Like if I had asked you to imagine an apple or picture an apple? Are those the same things, or does that matter?
That does not matter for me. I know that it does for other people, but for me, no, it's all the same.
Okay. What if I just asked you to think of an apple? Same thing?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe sometimes it would be, but it'd be like, okay, yeah, an apple, and I might like see the word like I was reading or something. But if you said think of an apple, I'd be like, okay, like there's something else. But when you say visualize or picture, then it's like, okay, that's the end of that. I'm picturing the apple.
Right, because it's very specific what I'm asking you to do.
Yeah.
So if you can, what's the difference between thinking of something and visualizing something?
Yeah, it's more of in my, I was going to say it's more in my mind, which would make it seem like visualizing isn't in my mind. So to say think of anything, for me, there's something else coming after. Think of an apple, and then we're going to do this with the apple, or you're going to bring the apple here, or something, and
Okay.
and some bananas, and this, or so I'm like, okay, and like just like waiting for the next thing.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah.
All right, that makes sense. We use the term the mind's eye.
Mhm.
Just real quick, kind of what does that mean to you? Do you feel like you have one? And how vivid is it on a scale from 1 to 10?
Like I said, I feel like my mind's eye, my imagination is very vivid. I'm going to say probably a 10 because I can't imagine it being any more real or any better than what it is.
Before you found out that aphantasia was a thing, did you just assume that everyone's internal experiences was the same as yours?
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds kind of selfish, but yeah.
It's very, very common.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't think that people think differently and visualize differently and imagine. You wouldn't think of that unless you hear of it, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be human nature just to assume that everybody else is having the same experience.
Right.
Even though that's nowhere near the truth.
Right, right.
The next thing I'd like you to do is visualize a cow in your mind.
Okay.
Is it like looking at a picture, watching a movie, seeing it in real life, or something else?
For the apple, I would say it was more like a picture, but for the cow, it was like in a field and it wasn't moving. But if I'm given a scene, I will see things like a movie very often. But just now for the cow, it was just like standing in a field. But yeah, and it was, one of those black and white type of cows, like your common cow that people think of when they think of a cow, even though there's all different types. What I saw right away was one of those black and white ones standing in a field.
Was it one that you'd seen before, or did you kind of create it?
I'm not sure. I mean, my mother and my stepfather were cattle farmers for many years, but they really didn't have the black and white cows. So I don't know if it was one I've seen somewhere or not, but I think it was just came to me. I don't think it was a memory.
Are the colors vibrant or muted?
Vibrant, yeah.
What about, can you give the cow wings and make it fly?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a good imagination. Yeah.
I'm really jealous of that. I think that would be so cool. All right. Is the image more clear with your eyes open or your eyes closed?
I don't know that it matters. I don't know that it makes a difference.
You can do it really well either way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you say that the cow is in your mind, or is it projected out in front of you?
I would say it's in my mind. It's almost like I have to look up, you know?
Okay. Is the image solid or transparent?
Solid.
And if it made a sound, could you hear it in your mind?
Yeah, I could hear a cow moo. But I'm not
Okay.
hearing it like with my ears. It's like I'm imagining. Like if I didn't know what it sounded like, I don't know that I could give it a sound or that it would make a sound and I'd be like, oh, what's the sound it's going to make? I don't know that I could do that, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
A lot of times when I ask people about sound, they hesitate a little bit like you did. Maybe they have to think about it more. I don't have any of the senses. So this is all kind of foreign to me. So one of the things I'm curious about is a lot of times when I ask about visualization, there's no question. I say, can you see it? Yep, I can see it.
Right.
When I ask about, can you hear it? Well, not with my ears, but with my imagination. So what's the difference? Like when I asked you if you can see it, you didn't say, well, not with my eyes, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I get that a lot. And so I'm just curious about that. What's making that difference where it's harder to tell?
I think because like right away, it comes to my mind right away, a picture or an image or whatever I'm told to imagine or think of, right there. If I have to hear something, I have to think and see if I can. Like I wasn't even sure. Like I know in dreams or like I said, like in a guided meditation or guided visualization or like a hypnotherapy session, any of those other kinds of things where you're using your imagination, I know that I can hear things just as well as seeing them. But to just say, oh, can you hear the cow? I have to see if I can. I don't know if you had said, there's a cow mooing in the field. Can you see that? And then can you hear that? I think that if you would have said, is the cow, that the cow is mooing, that would have came to me right away and I would have heard it moo. But since it was just a still cow and then asking me if I can hear afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, I could. But yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's so interesting because I find that all the time in these interviews that just the way I say certain things will totally influence what's happening. And before I started this, that never occurred to me that would be a thing. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's all so very interesting. This is really amazing what you're doing because I don't know that there's anybody else doing anything like this out there. And it's good for people to know, Yeah.
All right. What about the sense of smell? Could you smell the cow?
That's harder for me. I can smell like a scent will come to me, but it's more of like a memory. So I think that like if it was something I smelled a lot, then it would like it would come to me if you asked me to, can you like imagine the scent of roses or something or, something like that. But something that I don't smell every day or am not near all the time, I don't know that I can. I mean, I can remember, but I don't really smell it.
So it depends on familiarity.
Yeah, familiarity. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. The next thing I would like you to do is don't think of a pink elephant.
Okay.
Were you able to successfully do that?
Yeah. Like closing a screen, like, okay, don't. That word don't is like, okay, I'm not going to.
Oh, very cool. That's pretty talented for a visualizer.
Yeah. I'm also a pretty good rule follower, so that might make a difference. I'm somebody that likes people who follow the rules. So you tell me don't, I'm not going to.
Very cool. All right, cool. All right, the next thing I would like you to do is visualize a room. Any room that you'd like to visualize, just any room at all.
Okay.
Can you zoom outside the room and visualize the entire exterior of the building?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the entire neighborhood?
Yeah.
What about the entire city?
I can, but it might not be correct. But
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Can you add any more description to that? What was kind of happening as I asked you to do those things?
So when you asked me to visualize a room, I didn't want to do the obvious and visualize the room I'm in. So I visualized my living room, which is in another part of the house. So I saw that clearly. When you asked me to see the outside of the building, I sort of like zoomed out because I think, didn't you say zoom out?
I said zoom, yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I just automatically saw the outside of the house. It was like I zoomed out, like almost like what you do on Google Maps or something. Then the same thing with the neighborhood. But the whole city, it's like, I don't know if that's correct exactly, but I can see, like, I can go higher in my mind's eye and see the whole city and my house being little down there. Yeah.
Very cool. So when you get out to the city and you start wondering, I don't quite know exactly what it looks like, does your mind just start filling stuff in, or does it leave it blank? What happens?
So it makes it a little more vague. It's like, okay, there's buildings down there. There's other houses down there. I'm almost getting like a bird's eye view, but I don't know, like, is that the supermarket? Is that a gas station? What these different things are. So it just gets a little more vague, not blurry, but just like, I don't know what I'm looking at, I guess.
So would you say it's more like the details aren't filled in?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, on to the next one. Next thing I'd like you to do is visualize 3 green squares.
Okay.
Now visualize 9 green squares.
Okay.
Now visualize 100 green squares.
Well, I saw a bunch of them, but I don't know that there's 100.
All right, now try 1,000 green squares.
Okay. They're almost bunching together.
Yeah, just again, go into some detail. Tell me what it was like and what was happening and how sure you are that it was 1,000.
So I wasn't sure it was 1,000. I wasn't sure it was 100. I was sure of the 369 because that's easier. And then once you get to 100, it's like, then just like more like, it's almost like, it's almost like it zoomed out to add more. And then it was like, well, I don't know that that's 100. I'm not going to sit here and count them. And the same thing with the 1,000.
Do you feel like your mind is capable enough, though, to probably be pretty close to those numbers?
No, it's because, so I'm not good at math. And if I had ever seen what 1,000 green squares looked like, then I might be able to be like, oh, okay, I know that this is roughly what it looks like to see 1,000 green squares. But since I've never really seen that, I can't be sure that I don't trust my mind that it gave me the 1,000. Yeah.
Okay. Does it bother you when a restaurant menu does not have pictures of the food?
No, I actually don't like the pictures of the food because that usually looks worse. I'd rather just read the description. Yeah.
So when you read the description, do you visualize it?
Well, I'm kind of a picky eater, so there's only a few things I will eat.
Okay.
So I kind of look for those few things that I know I will eat. I don't really picture the food. If I'm reading a description of a meal that I don't know what it is and I'm reading the description, then I am picturing it or trying to.
How much of your visualization is what you choose to visualize, and how much of it is on autopilot and you're simply observing what's there?
So I would say it's what I choose mostly, but like if I'm listening to a conversation, or listening to an audio book, visions will pop in my mind. Also I've had some trauma in my life in my past, and I've had like flashbacks, which is like a movie more than like a memory or a visualization. It would be like a movie, like flashing right in front of me, uncontrollably. But like listening to people talk or like an audio book or something like that, sometimes even a song, if it's like a storytelling type of song, then I'll see, what people are describing. it'll just pop in my mind. Yeah.
Okay. Does effort play a role in how well you can visualize something?
No, I don't have to try. Is that what you mean? Like I'm like, oh, I really want to see what that is, and so I'm going to focus in on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked to other people where the more time they spend on it, the better it gets. It takes a little effort to get it going or get the detail there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Can you hold your mental images for as long as you want, or are they fleeting?
It's not, I wouldn't say that they're fleeting. You know, if I want to keep looking at it, I will. I can. I'm able to. Yeah.
Okay. And there's no real effort involved in that either?
No.
Okay. Very cool. In general, when you close your eyes, what do you see?
It's pretty much black unless it's bright, you know. Like when I go to sleep at night, though, it's different. But if I'm just like here and I close my eyes, it's just like black. I can see like a little bit of light coming through because I've got lights around here. But otherwise, I don't see a whole lot just closing my eyes. I don't see anything.
Okay. So the visualization then is optional. You can turn it off.
Yeah.
Or it can be off.
Yeah, I think I can turn it off to make sure that I don't if I don't want to, except for like I mentioned, like in a trauma response and having like flashbacks kind of thing. Of course, that happens when you don't want it to, but otherwise, just in general, yeah, I can turn it off.
Right. Sounds like in general you have a lot of control.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, very cool. Can you visualize to the extent that it completely takes you out of your reality?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. In what ways? Can you explain that?
I can completely, like if I, visualize going to a beach and then just, I can get myself to where I can feel the sand and the water and just even the sun on my face and almost, be somewhere else if I want to. So yeah, I can do that.
Again, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I know it'd be nice to go to the beach anytime you want.
Yeah. Do you feel like your visualization changes over the years? For example, was it more or less vivid as a child?
I think that it's gotten more vivid as I've become older, and definitely the hypnotherapy courses and classes definitely helped with that because we did a lot of visualization exercises. I was very visual as a child, but I do think that it's gotten more vivid as I've gotten older. And then also started meditating as an adult. And I think that really made a big difference too. I could imagine, I had a good imagination, but I do think it's gotten better and probably easier and more vivid as I've gotten older. Yeah. All
right. Next up, I want to delve a little bit more into what I call the mind's ear, the inner voice, the inner sounds and things like that. Just a quick description of the mind's ear that I have. The ability to hear something in one's mind. It suggests a mental sensation of sound, such as a noise, a voice, or music that is not physically present. Mm-hmm. So based on that, do you feel like you have a mind's ear as well?
Not near as much as I do my mind's eye. I think that would take effort. I think I could, like if I wanted to think of a certain song or somebody's voice I hadn't heard in a long time or something, I could, but it definitely would take some effort. It'd be like, okay, I'm going to make a decision and think about this and then hear it. Yeah. It's more of like, like we were saying before with the familiarity, I think it's a memory thing. I don't know that I could hear something that I hadn't heard before,
Right. Okay. So if you were to rank that one on that scale from 1 to 10, where would you put it?
I'm going to put that one more at maybe around a 7.
And real quick, I forgot to ask you earlier this question with the visual aspect, but both with the visual aspect and the hearing aspect, in what ways does it feel like reality and which ways is it different from reality?
That's a great question. Well, it's different because of all the other sensations that you don't get when you're visualizing. I mean, like I just told you that I could go on the beach pretty much if I wanted to, but it's still not near as, I don't know if vivid is the right word, because it is pretty vivid, but it's just not the same as having all the sensations that you would have if you were literally on a beach.
And the reason I ask that is because when I try and think about what that would be like, the only thing I have to compare it to is reality.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Do you have an inner monologue?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Can you describe it a little bit, what it's like and what that phrase means to you?
It means just talking to myself in my head. There's always something going on in there. It's not like, I know I've heard people talk about how their mind is so busy and they can't turn it off. I'm not like that. I don't have that problem, but it's sort of like thinking out loud but it's not out loud. It's as if I was talking to myself of like what I'm doing next, what time is it, what do I need to do to prepare for whatever's coming up, and just your regular day stuff. Like, I can't imagine how someone goes throughout their day without having an inner monologue. I can't imagine not having that.
Okay. And again, does it feel like you're hearing it? Does it feel audible in some way? Like, can you tell it's your voice? Can you tell the pitch of the voice? Those kind of things.
Yeah, it is. It's like listening to myself, like as if I was talking out loud.
Okay. Again, there are different words that people use to describe their inner monologue or their inner voice. Well, that's one of them. Inner voice is one of them. There's inner dialogue or self-talk. What do you think about those?
Yeah, when I think of self-talk, if someone uses that term, I think more of like something like affirmations, or even like the opposite, like what I want to tell my inner voice, what I want to tell myself, compared to just what's automatically going on in there. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not thinking, it's consciously saying something that you want to tell yourself. Like I said, like almost like an affirmation or something.
Right. It's more on purpose.
Yes. Yeah. More on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think you already mentioned this, that it's not a constant thing. Again, you can kind of shut that off as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like, then it's almost like, are you just spacing out, or like if I'm tired or something, then it's quieter for sure.
Shane's Brain is available to speak and present at your next event, conference, or assembly. For more information, go to shanesbrainspeaks.com.
Do you play out conversations in your mind?
Yeah, and it's not a good thing. Yeah, I only do it when I'm thinking of like things I should have said in the past and things like that. Sometimes I will. I have a phone call with my mother. She's in another state and she's in her 80s. I have a phone call with her every week. And so I'll think about what I can say to her, and then I'll sort of hear that in my mind, like how I would say that and what she might say back and stuff like that. I do, though. I'll hear like old arguments and old conversations and things said that I should have responded differently, or I'll play that out, and that's not a good thing, but that happens too.
Okay. So when that's happening, do you hear the other person's voice as well, or just your own?
I think I do hear the other person's voice. Yeah. And then I have to tell myself, stop thinking about that. Or no, we're not going there now. That's my self-talk, like I'll tell myself, no, we're not going to think about that now,
As far as just other than voices, just sounds, it sounds like you can do it, but it depends on familiarity and you have to put more effort into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds. Okay. With the control aspect, we talked visually, you have quite a bit of control over that. Yeah. And with the voices and sounds, it sounds like you have a lot of control over that as well.
Yeah, I would say I do.
Now I'm going to ask a series of questions that kind of meshes it all together into thoughts. I mean, one of the things I ask people sometimes is, what is a thought, right? Which is a very difficult thing to answer.
It is.
But are your thoughts mostly visual, mostly verbal, an equal mixture of the two, or something else?
I would say my thoughts are much more verbal, but they're also a mix, but verbal more than anything, like that inner monologue going on.
Are your thoughts up close and personal?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Like, what would they be if they weren't?
For me, I describe my thoughts as distant and vague.
Hmm.
So that would be kind of the opposite.
Well, my thoughts are mostly about what I'm doing and what I need to figure out. So I would say that's very personal. It's almost like a journal. So it is very personal to my life and what's going on in my life, like even just daily.
All right. Do your thoughts happen one at a time or many at once?
I really think it's one at a time. It might lead to something. It might go off onto other,
Sure.
things. But yeah, it's just one at a time. I can't imagine, having more than one thought kind of at a time. That would seem, that would be hard to manage.
Yeah. And I've talked to a lot of people that deal with that.
Yeah, that's got to be really rough.
Yeah. I talked to one lady who described it as, she said, have you ever been in like a security room where they got the cameras all over the place?
Mm.
She said that's what it's like, and they're all going at the same time, and they're layered on top of each other, and it's just there's movies and this memory here, and it's all in front of me at one time. So yeah, it's just amazing the different things people are experiencing, and never realizing that it's unique or different in any way. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how people can handle that, but if it's always been part of their life, and like you said in the beginning, we always tend to think that however we are thinking is how other people are thinking as well.
Right. And that's why I like to talk about this, because I think just the realization of that, at least for me, it's helped me be a lot more patient with other people.
Yeah.
And less judgmental, I think a lot of times people make assumptions. Oh, this guy's dumb because he can't, and it's not stupidity, or it's not necessarily even laziness, or a lot of the labels that we put on it. It's just different is all it is.
Yeah. You have no idea what's going on in someone else's mind. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. I want to run through, these other senses again real quick. We've talked about them real quick, but again, I want you to put them on that scale. Okay. So with the mind's nose, it's the ability to smell something in one's mind. It suggests a mental sensation of smell, such as an odor, aroma, or fragrance that is not physically present. So do you feel like you have that, and put it on that scale?
I think that's mainly from memory. And I think I can, like, I'm thinking of like a rose. I can smell a rose if I want to, but it's from memory. It's not, like I said, it's not something that I've never smelled before. I don't think I could come up with something. And that probably is, I'm going to give that a 7 as well with the hearing. Yeah.
Okay. And is taste kind of along the same line as smell?
I would have to have tasted it before, but it will come right to me much quicker. Like even when you said take a bite of the apple, like I could feel my mouth watered right away, and the more we talked about it, like I could really taste an apple. And like I used to think, which is going to sound funny, but I used to think like when at times I've wanted to diet, and then it's like, well, I can just imagine what a donut would taste like. I can just, remember it and I'll be fine. I don't have to actually eat it. And so that kind of gives you an idea with that.
Okay. So does that work? Does that work for you? Like if you taste something, does it kind of satisfy the craving for it?
I would say no. Okay. No, it's not the same as actually having the donut, but it's a little bit easier than like completely, shutting it off. It's a little easier than completely denying yourself of it.
Okay. That's cool. That's very interesting. So on that scale of 1 to 10 on taste, is that around a 7 as well, or is that a little bit more?
I would say that's a little bit more. I'm going to give that an 8 or a 9.
All right. if you watch a cooking show on TV,
Mm-hmm.
can you kind of smell and taste the food that they're cooking?
I think I can taste it more so than I can smell it. And then I know, like, would I like that or not? I can tell because I can kind of imagine tasting it and seeing what it would taste like by watching them fix it. I don't get the scent right away, though. Unless, again, like I said, if they were making something that I've made before, then I probably would. That would be that memory.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Let's move to what I call the mind's fingertip.
Oh.
That textural
Mm-hmm.
type feeling. It's the ability to touch or feel something in one's mind. It suggests a mental sensation of touch, such as an embrace, a texture, a temperature, or a breeze that is not physically present. So do you feel like you have that, and where would you rate it on the scale?
I do have that somewhat. Like I had described the beach before, and like the sun on my face and the sand on my feet, but it's not as easy. Takes some effort to imagine being there and then feeling everything about being there. So that would be back down to that 7, probably. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. Now I want to talk about reading a little bit.
Okay.
So if you read a novel, is it like a movie in your mind or something else?
It is like a movie if they're describing things. But I guess, to think about it, even if like people are talking and I'm reading, like a conversation in the novel, then I will kind of hear what they're saying.
Okay. And how detailed are the characters and the surroundings?
Well, it depends on how much they've described it. But I think that even if they haven't described, painted a real detailed picture, then I will kind of get one. I'll put them somewhere that I think that they are. Yeah, I guess it can be pretty detailed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said that you can hear the conversations happening, the characters. Where do those voices come from? Do you assign those voices out of your imagination, or do they sound like people you've already heard before? How does that work?
That's really interesting. Because earlier I was saying I don't think I could hear voices that I hadn't heard before, but I think that I do just assign voices. I think that I do now that you say that. And that's something that kind of bothers me when I'm listening to an audiobook. Like if they're talking about a conversation, then it kind of bothers me that it's the same voice for both people.
Right.
So yeah, I guess I do sort of assign them a voice, and it wouldn't be somebody's voice that I know.
Okay. So other than the characters' voices that you're hearing, do you hear any narration? Like if you read The Cow Walked Across the Street, do you hear that in your head?
I think I just visualize what they're saying.
Okay. If a book has characters with different accents, do you do the accents in your mind?
Yeah.
How accurate does it have to be? Like, what if you're not very good at doing the accents? Does that throw you off at all? Or
I can't do any accent. So it's going more by like what I've heard, like I've heard somebody talk like that. I've heard somebody with that kind of accent. So I would just go by that. I'm thinking of like an Australian person, if they said they were in Australia, they would have an Australian accent, but I could never do it. I wouldn't try, but I've heard, like in movies and TV and whatever, I've heard people with an Australian accent. So I think it would just automatically come there. It's like, this is how they sound. This is the accent they have. It's like, okay, there it is. They do.
Okay. So does that require any effort? Like, does it slow you down when you read it all or is it just flow?
I think it would slow me down if I didn't know what that would sound like.
All right. So when you're reading, you're experiencing the visuals, you're experiencing the sounds, the voices. What about the other senses? Do those ever come into play at all when you're reading? Smell, taste, or touch?
No, I don't think so, unless they describe it. Now, if they say, and the room smelled like, fresh bread baking, then I would probably smell that.
Okay.
But if it wasn't mentioned, I don't think I would.
You mentioned audiobooks a couple times. Do you like audiobooks better than actual reading, or which one do you prefer?
I prefer to read a physical book, except now I'm getting older. I have cataracts. I need surgery. So my eyes are bad. I have arthritis in my hands real bad. So it's just a different experience. It's harder for me to read a book, but I prefer that. Also, if I'm in a hurry, or if I have a bunch of books that I want to read, I just want to kind of get through my to be read list, then I'll see if it's on audiobook so I can listen. But I think it's a very different experience for me. So yeah, I prefer to read it because a lot more plays in my mind if I'm just reading. But if I'm listening, it's a different experience. Yeah. I'm not as involved, I don't think.
All right. I want to move to sleep and dreams. Does your mind and your visualization or even your sounds or anything affect your ability to fall asleep?
Yeah, my mind will just start visualizing and just go into like the meditation mode where I like a clean slate. Like if I find myself thinking too much, and that includes visualizing too much as I'm trying to fall asleep, then I'm like, okay, we gotta just not think of anything at all.
Okay.
There's a difference between dreaming and visualizing something while I'm still awake, and that's keeping me awake. There's a difference, even though when I'm awake, I might be thinking of something and seeing it and whatever, just nonsensical, but I'm still awake, if that makes sense. Whereas like the dreams are nonsensical as well, just, crazy imagination dreams.
Can you go into that a little bit more? How are they different? In what ways do they differ?
When I'm trying to fall asleep, it feels more like thinking. When I'm sleeping, it's definitely more of just like a movie playing in the background.
So are your dreams in first person or third person?
First person for sure. Yeah.
What about the other senses in your dreams? I think you mentioned that they were more prominent there in your dreams.
Yeah, it feels like I'm, like I said, it's like a movie playing in the background and I am in the first person. I'm immersed in the experience, if that makes sense. I'm the one going through this building or this house, or I'm the one that's creating something, or, so it is much more tactile. And like if I'm running or walking somewhere, it's almost like I really am. Like I'm in the movie. Yeah.
Right. So is it safe to say it closer resembles reality than your imagination does?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you compare it to reading, it just feels more immersive, more detailed, more real.
Yeah.
Than what happens when you read.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when I read, it's still separate. I'm not part of that book.
All right, let's move on to memory. Do you experience your memories in first person, third person, or can you do both?
So like memories from when I was, both, I think, like mainly from when I was a child, it's both, because like I'm like imagining myself as a child almost, and I can like maybe pan out and see myself, compared to like memories from adulthood. It's more in first person because it's me. I mean, who we become as an adult is who we feel like we are. But as a kid, it's almost like that kid, that was me, but you don't feel like that same person anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love these descriptions. That's beautiful. All right. Does it ever feel like you're reliving the memory? You're back there in the moment.
So only like I had mentioned about trauma and flashbacks, that's when you're reliving it, or like nightmares of trauma events. So that's when I would feel like I was reliving, but otherwise, no.
Do you feel like your memories are accurate?
I do. Yep. Yeah. And like, I'll know, like I said, when I panned out above my house and to see my neighborhood, yes. But once I got to see the whole city, I wasn't really sure. So it's the same kind of thing. Like if I'm not remembering fully, then it'll be a little more vague and a little more muted, and then I'll know there's something I'm not remembering about this. Yeah.
Okay. I've had other people tell me that, their memories are very vivid, but they don't trust them because they know their mind is filled in things that were not really there, not really true. Does that ever happen to you, or does it feel like it stays pretty accurate?
Some things from childhood I've had to reconfirm, with other people, ask my mom, did we ever do this? Or was that, did grandma have, was grandma's dog, whatever, or ask my sister things about our childhood, things that I thought I remembered, but wasn't sure. I would have to ask. But things in my adulthood, my memory would not be so clear if it wasn't true. I trust that my clear memory is a true memory. If it wasn't, there would be space. There would be it wouldn't be so clear if I didn't know, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. Goes back to the city thing.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, do you feel like you would make a good court witness?
I do. I think that when you are if it's a really traumatic situation, and if you're involved in it compared to watching it, if I watched a crime take place, I would be a great witness. But if I was involved in it, I'm not sure, because I don't know how much that would affect me. I'm not sure about that.
Right.
But I would know, if I knew that I remembered, then I would know that I'm remembering. But otherwise, I'd be I don't really recall, because I would know that I didn't. I don't think my mind would fill in things.
Okay, great. Yeah, it does sound like you'd make a great court witness.
I hope I don't ever have to, but.
Right. Okay, next up we got mind storage.
Okay.
How would you describe how your mind stores information?
How would I describe that my mind stores information?
This one can be hard, but it can also be really interesting. I guess to help you along, here's some follow-up questions. Do you associate your mind with an area or a space, somewhere you can go?
I feel like it's an internal space. I can search my mind for something I'm trying to remember.
Okay, and how does that work? How is that working? How is that happening? Can you put your finger on it, or is it kind of happening behind the scenes and you don't really know?
So if I'm trying to remember something, I will lead myself up to it. So in my mind, I'm say if you lost an object, I'm going to go back to where I was when I last had it, kind of a thing.
Are there different rooms or compartments in your mind?
I don't think so. I don't feel that way.
Okay.
It's not like I go here for this kind of a thing or there for that kind of a thing. And I know people have described things of almost like a file cabinet or organized closet or something. I don't have that kind of a visualization for my mind.
Okay. Does how you visualize affect how you performed in your career or your hobbies at all? Does that come into play? Do you feel like it affects it?
It must. I mean, I like to paint, and I will watch a lot of artists, people who are more than a hobby painters. I will watch a lot of videos of them painting, and then I'll try to, when I'm painting and I'm trying to get a certain look, I will visualize what they did.
Okay. So you kind of replay that.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see what's.
Yeah. And sometimes when I'm watching, I'll make a mental note. It'll be oh, I want to remember that, and I'll just it'll almost replay again and okay, I got it. And then,
So that goes back to the storage aspect. If you say, okay, I want to make a note of that, this is something I want to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Does your mind just somehow store that in a way that you don't quite understand, and it's just easy to pull it back?
So say I'm watching somebody do a painting, and I'm oh, I want to make a mental note of that. I mean, that would be my internal dialogue. It'll be oh, let's remember this. And it'll almost play right back, right after I watch it and I say that to myself, it'll play back in my mind. So it's imprinting almost. I never really feel it's stored in a certain spot or anything.
Right. And then when you want to call it back, that's just a mental cue, like, hey, come back, and it comes back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah, that one painter I was watching, I want to use that here. And that's my internal dialogue. It's like, oh yeah, what did he do? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think are some of the upsides and some of the downsides about how your mind works?
I think some of the downsides would be like those flashbacks, and that it would be much easier and nicer if I didn't have that. Some of the upsides would be, I don't know what my life would be if I wasn't able to meditate, which is kind of the opposite of what we're talking about, because like I'm able to totally go blank, sort of when I want to. But I love being able to think about going to the beach, and being able to almost be there in my mind's eye. And I love to think about, to almost, replay, a good day and something like that. So, that stuff is good.
All right. Last question. If you woke up tomorrow and had aphantasia, how do you think it would affect your life?
I would think something was really wrong with me. I would think I would be shocked, and I would be really worried, and I'd probably make an appointment with a therapist or the doctor or something. Like, did I have a brain injury or something? Because now I cannot even imagine not being able to imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody else told me a similar thing. It's like, I can imagine anything you ask me to imagine, except for the lack thereof.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. I agree.
All right, Pamela, that is pretty much it. Is there anything else you would like to say before we sign off?
This is just so fascinating. And I can't wait to listen to more of your podcast, because this is just such fascinating information, how everybody's so different in their mind. I love it. I love it. So thank you for letting me be a part of it. And thank you for what you're doing. It's super interesting.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. You're very articulate and had some great answers. And as always, you said some stuff I've never heard anyone say before,
good.
Which is always part of the fun part for me. So I really appreciate your time and your answers. And I hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe, follow, and engage with us, and share it with your friends and family as we continue to explore this fascinating subject. For additional information about this episode or Shane's Brain, check out the show notes. Thanks for listening to the Discovering Your Mind podcast. You are beautifully unique.